What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. A little later episode here of Sith Council Big Thing. It's just me by my lonesome. I was at CinemaCon, well, at least for the day. Went and checked out The Flash. You can see my out-of-the-theater reaction if you want to check that out. It's up there now. But I wanted to get back, make sure that I could do an episode today. And I was like, well, I haven't done the questions from the audience because there's always a lot of great topics and things that you guys always bring up. So figured we would do that today. I posted on the Big Thing Twitter account and my Facebook page and the community page here, and you guys submitted a bunch of questions, so we'll get into that for sure. And obviously one of those, as you saw from the title, is how involved is Luke going to be in the Ahsoka series and the Filoni movie moving forward. I'll give you my answer when that question comes up. So we have a lot going on, man. Listen, if you're not going to be able to be there, God, I hope you're able to be there. Get to the live show, man. Get to the live show. It's this Friday. It's the first one. And if you're anywhere near there, if you're able to be there, like if you're able to be even close, then come to it. Like, I was going to go. I wasn't sure. Come to this show. If you want to watch it on the stream, you can do that as well. And it's thekristianharloff.com. You can get stream tickets and live tickets. We're at about 115 tickets sold right now. I want to sell them all out. So get those tickets today, man, if you can do it. At TeePublic, there is a sale today. You want to get a Sith Council shirt, you can do that. Links in the description for that one as well. Spotify we have video over there for Spotify, so make sure you check that out. And that's really it, guys. We're going to have a fun show here today, just me and you talking it up. Let's do it. It's Sith Council. I'm ready. You're ready. Let's do it.
I can feel your anger. It gives you focus, makes you stronger.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Sith Council. It is me, Kristian Harloff, and I'm excited to be here with you today. The Mandalorian has officially ended. Season 3. It's over in the can. Divisive season. I stand by the thing that there was a lot of enjoyable moments from it. I do think that it's absolutely could have been. You could have dove deeper. But there's a lot of people who liked it. There's a lot of people who didn't. Certainly the most divisive season out of the 3 for sure. And so now, where does Star Wars go from here with Mandalorian season 4 with the other things kind of coming up? But speaking of Mandalorian, we had a really great interview with Katie Sackhoff, who's just the best, and that's up on the channel now. And a lot of you guys might have found the channel from that interview. A lot of you guys might have seen clips and stuff going around from that, and it was a really good interview. It was a good talk, and I'm glad that she's doing as well as she is. She's just such a genuine human being, and I love getting a chance to talk to her. And yeah, I'm glad a lot of people are really catching who she really is. Also, besides just the Bo Katan moniker, she's just as I've said, and you can tell when we talk to her, she's the same person I met 17 years ago. She doesn't have an ego. She doesn't have a false sense of self. She knows exactly who she is. So I think there's a reason why people are starting to catch on. I'm glad that interview is getting around. So if you haven't checked it out, you can head on over to the playlist. You can find it there, and it's in there. So, and it's actually the featured video on this channel at the moment. So here's what we're going to do, guys. You guys have a bunch of questions, and we're just going to go through them. I collected them from, like I said, from Twitter and Facebook and the community page here. And I just took a bunch of them, and we're going to go through them. So let's get into it. Let's get into these questions. We'll start with the first one by Michael Braga. Thank you, Michael. Michael says, should Andor Season 2 end where Rogue One starts? I mean, I think that's the plan. I think that Tony Gilroy has always said that. I think that everything inside of Season 2 is ultimately the lead to Rogue One. I think there's going to be a little bit of a time jump, obviously, from what we've seen in the from what they've said. What they did show. Oh no, they didn't show a trailer. I thought they showed a trailer for it was Ahsoka. But from what they said is that Mon Mothma is past just the kind of trying to figure out what she wants to do. I think that she's in the leadership position by the time season 2 starts. At least that's what I remember reading somewhere. But I think there's a time jump, and there should be a time jump if there's only going to be 2 seasons. And I think it does lead to, I think the last, I feel that Jyn Erso is going to be in this season. I think K2SO is obviously going to be in this season. So curious still on how they're going to do. It's going to answer so many questions about canon in general. Once that scene comes in, I'm being very clear that I don't necessarily think that they need to do it the way if Tony Gilroy has a different way to introduce how Andor and K2SO met in canon, and he feels like it's the right story to tell, well, who the hell am I to tell Tony Gilroy, who just annihilated it in season 1? Well, no, you should stick to what they did in the comic books. I'm just saying it makes a definitive statement about canon that anything you read in comic books and anything you read in the novels that they told you was canon, it's not. It is if they don't do anything with it, but they're going to switch it up when they need to, which is maybe the right call. It was the wrong call in 2012 to say everything. It's all connected. The way that James Gunn did it for DC is like for what we're selecting in this DCU, there will be things that directly coordinate. Not everything is going to be canon, but the stuff that we're directly coordinating through games and comics and all that, that's going to be canon inside of it. Not everything. That's too confusing because we might have to change things up, and if we do, we're gonna be going back on our word, which is exactly what happened here. However, if they find a way to maneuver it a little bit, and it is pretty much on par with what they set up in the comic book, well then F me. I'm going to say, whoa, I was surprised. That was a curveball. I would just put those odds low that's going to happen. But as far as it tying into Rogue One, yeah, I think that's a definite. I think we lead right into that scene of why Andor has to go and shoot that guy in the beginning of Rogue One, leading us into the entire movie. So yeah, I think that's absolutely what's going to happen at the very end. It might be the closing scene to lead into it. Hey, before we just did this big battle, this big thing, and we did it, but now I need you to go do this. And Andy Serkis confirmed that Kino's coming back, so that's cool. I'm never going to complain about Andy Serkis being in anything. So thank you again, Michael, for that. I appreciate it. Eureka! 1. Do you think that season 3 story should have been told in 2 seasons instead of 1? No, but I do think, and I apologize to people because I know if I was watching the show and it's like, here he goes again with this, but I can't always assume that everybody has watched the show before. So allow me to say the same things that I have been saying just to reiterate the point and to answer this question that just was asked. I think had the episodes been longer, I think had they put more detail into it, I love Dave Filoni. I've been talking about Dave Filoni as directing things for a long time, and his vision and understanding of the Star Wars universe and his care for it and how he really understands it. He's fantastic. I think he's a little too locked into what George says stuff. And what are you talking about? George Lucas created it all. Of course he's got to do that. The majority of the philosophies, yes. But he gave an interview on the Collider and talked about how I think Steve asked him if it was going to be longer episodes. And he's like, well, yeah, for Ahsoka. And he said, yeah, we're probably going to have longer episodes, not too much longer. But the reason that Jon Favreau and I always talked about it was that we wanted to stick by George Lucas's philosophy of faster, and keeping everything moving. And it's like, yeah, but you can still make things fast. And to his credit as well, too, he said if it's up to him, he's going to take the longer storylines and let it flow. But they cut a lot of things out to make it move faster. And an example of that is what Katie told us in the interview, and that was that they had this whole speech that she told, and she said that the speech was significantly longer and had like a William Wallace kind of quality to it, and she had a chance to kind of really rile everybody up, and when it plays, it just cuts quick and then they move. I think they lose character development that way. I think it cuts too much more into almost like an animated show when you're doing 32, 33 minutes. So, no, I don't think it should have been divided into 2 seasons. I think it should have been longer episodes. I think each episode should be anywhere between 45 to an hour because it allows you to develop more characters. You can develop Axe more. You can develop Cusker Reeves. You can develop so many things you can develop. You can develop a lot of different Bo and go back into the Satine stuff. You can try go more so into the adventure of Din, a little bit set up Moff Gideon, where there's a lot. And I really enjoyed this, and again to keep repeating myself, it really felt like this sandwich is decent. I'm still starving, and there's not enough meat on it, but it was pretty good. There's one, and if you let's say you don't like olives, I wish they wouldn't put olives on this. That was the Jack Black and Lizzo episode. Some people like olives. I don't like olives. So that was the olives episode. Some people say, oh, yeah, I like it. It was good. I like olives on my sandwich. Get them out of there. Doesn't work. But yeah, that's. I think that more so that it should have been. Not 2 seasons, but just split up a little bit more. Thank you, Iuika. 1. Mark, the top fabricator, 6047. A problem that I have with this Disney era of Star Wars is that I find very lackluster a lot of the lightsaber duels, with the only exception being Ahsoka versus Maul from the Clone Wars, and Obi-Wan versus Darth Vader from Obi-Wan, which are 2 of my favorite lightsaber duels ever. So do you think that Ahsoka series will give us great lightsaber duels? First of all, I agree with you. I think that they've kind of leaned away from it. And the Last Jedi, for what people always say, there's a great lightsaber fight in the throne room. 2 lightsabers, I don't even think clash in that fight. There is no lightsaber fight in The Last Jedi. There is with Kylo Ren and Rey in Rise of Skywalker, and there's that first one in Force Awakens. There's nothing in Rogue One. Obviously, there's nothing in Solo. So that's been a really good movie one in quite a while. And as far as the Obi-Wan had a good one at the very end of the series, whether you like the series or not, I think that's what most people agree. That fight was pretty good. But I do agree that there's been a significant kind of lack of it, but it doesn't look like that's the case. And there's a lot of great ones in Rebels, not just Clone Wars. A lot of great ones in Rebels. And so I think Filoni's a big fan of lightsaber fights. So I think we're going to get a lightsaber fight. I think we're going to get quite a few, and I think we're going to get really good ones. So I think, and then we're going to get a ton of them in the Acolyte. I think that they're aware of that. I think that there's a reason why there's so many Jedi and Sith and stuff popping up now, because they almost like threw them in the back. Like, yeah, it's too much now. Nobody wants to see you guys anymore. And it was like, where the hell are the Jedi and the Sith? Where are they? Where are the lightsaber fights? Where's the Force? And now they seem to be doing it a lot, especially with the Acolyte. Ahsoka looks heavy leaning on it. So we'll see. But I do think we're going to see a lot in Ahsoka for sure. All right, moving on here. Jamito Rivera, Dawn of the Jedi, 25,000 years before the current era. What kind of Star Wars tech are you expecting? Well, it depends on how they approach it. If they approach it the same way with Knights of the Republic. By the way, I've gotten better at it. But on Twitter, I just, like I said, I usually use it just to promote it. And one of the reasons I hate it is because it's like that natural instinct that if somebody says something, you have to go back. And I wrote something and I took it away right away. But some idiot was like, because I posted, there was that thing, tell me who your favorite Star Wars characters are, of all time. And Revan and Bane are probably inside of the whole Star Wars kind of universe. Movies, it's Palpatine, but as far as Revan and Bane, but Revan, for that storyline, still, I've said it, that after Empire Strikes Back, I think that Knights of the Republic is my favorite Star Wars story. And if you've been following me long enough, you know that I've been talking about Knights of the Old Republic and Revan and all that stuff for all the damn time. And I posted it, and somebody was like, "Oh, interesting that you put this comment was fine." You guys said, "Interesting that you put a video game character over this person, this person, this person," and without even allowing me to respond, some other ball bag a la Rusk was like, "These clowns never watched or played Knights of the Republic. No way." And I was like, and I don't remember what I responded back. It was so stupid. I was like, and I think I said something like the stupidest comment on the internet. It wasn't anything like, it was just something along the lines of, I literally talk about this all the time. Like, why am I responding to this? And I had to kind of dive deep into that conversation that we had with Katie. And it's just like, you can't understand the point of view that someone from the other side of the computer is tweeting at. You don't know why this person is as angry or looking for a fight or all that stuff. And I had to tell myself that again. And it's a process. And it's something I'm learning over the last couple of years. You gotta just, it's not worth it. So I was like, and I laughed about it. I deleted it. I was like, why? Why am I responding to this person? But that it just goes back to answer your question. I went off on I don't know where the hell I went on that. But the technology in Knights of the Republic, which is years and years and years and years and years and years before, it's like thousands of years before, I think it's something like 3,000 years before episode 1. And the technology in the game is pretty much like kind of the same stuff. And the way that I justify that is because just because technology ages differently on Earth doesn't mean it ages differently the same way here. Maybe it's a little bit more clean. I mean, it's clearly super clean in freaking the prequels. I think too clean. But who knows? Who knows if they play with the Star Forge or whatever the hell they do? But I don't know if they're going to. But whatever they might do, I think technology. It won't be. I think that they even said that. James Mangold. It's not going to be. It's still going to feel like Star Wars. It just is also. It's just going to be biblical and kind of the idea of how the setup is. There is still going to be tech and all that, and there should be. And the start of the droids or whatever it might be. I think that they all should be there. I think droids should have been around for thousands upon thousands upon thousands of years, because I think that's what makes Star Wars, right? So if it's 25,000 years before, I think the tech should still be there, and I think it should still be prominent. And it's different planets, like it's each planet could have come up with technology years and years and years beforehand. It doesn't mean that every single there's different, maybe a planet like, I don't know, Tatooine. I hope we don't see Tatooine again, but I'm just saying Tatooine could be not even just, colonized yet. And there could be certain planets that weren't colonized yet. But because of its different planets, technology could have been set up 40,000 years ago on certain planets. Who knows? Maybe it's just each different planet. Maybe there's certain planets that don't have the tech yet. But the tech could have been discovered 50, 60,000 years before. Because and there could be certain planets that were wiped out. There could be certain planets that were thriving that are barren by the time we get to them years later. So, and it could be the first planets that discovered it, and eventually they had to get. So there's a way to get around that. I think the technology should be virtually the same, to be honest with you, because time just works differently and civilizations work differently. So it's if it was the same planet, it would be weird. But because it's like, well, they've had the same technology on the same planet for years. Like Coruscant should look different. Maybe Coruscant is vast with green and maybe some technology, and maybe it's the start of it. Maybe that's who knows. But there's a ways around that for sure. All right, Tully Quinn, is that the same? Wait, hold on a second. No, it wasn't. Sorry, Tully Quinn. Do you sense that Star Wars creatives are afraid to take risks or make bold choices with characters because of online backlash? Also, do you think they're holding off on some name-dropping Satine for something in the future? I don't think that. No, I don't. I think here's the unfortunate part of it. Like I said, and I still think that with Filoni working on Ahsoka, still think that he was around. His office is around there. I don't know. I'm just curious about how locked in to Mandalorian he was, because there was a lot of details that I think could have been there from stuff that he created in Clone Wars and Rebels, and I don't know how. I mean, I know that Jon Favreau was a voice in both Clone Wars and Rebels, but a stronger voice in Clone Wars. But I just don't know how much Jon Favreau's watching Clone Wars. I don't know how much he's going back into that history and talking about it. I just don't know. So I think that Filoni's going to be concentrating on his movie. I think Filoni's going to be concentrating on Ahsoka seasons 1 and season 2 and connecting it all. I don't think he's going to be that involved in Mandalorian. So I don't know. So I don't think Satine is going to. I don't think she's going to show up. I just don't. I think that if they were going to do it, I think the time has passed. They should have done it last season. I think the time has passed. But as far as your other question, do I think that the risks are because of backlash? No, I don't think it's because of backlash. I think it's because of. I think it's Lucasfilm right now is they are they're they're in the spotlight. They're under the microscope, and it's like hey, Kathleen Kennedy. Here's the thing: we bought this company. We bought this product for $4 billion. We have Marvel continuously making us money. We have this stuff. The last movie you made $1 billion. 4 out of the 5 movies you made $1 billion. The argument can be made that Solo was Disney's mistake of putting it out on not making it, but putting it out when they put it out. Where Kathleen Kennedy was pretty adamant about releasing it in December. And I think it would have done significantly better. So there is an argument to be made that they could have saved some of their losses there. But nonetheless, and I had this conversation recently. This is where I stand with the approach on where I think Kathleen Kennedy is coming from, and it's funny because it's going to defend both her abilities as a really good producer, and it's also going to defend people who think this is not the right person to be running Star Wars creative. Now, as a good, let's go on the good producer side of it, right? So if you've just lost $200 million on Strange World, if you've lost $200 million on Lightyear, and you need to make up that money, you're going to start looking and going, hey, Star Wars, what's going on? Where's the movie? We need the kashish. What's going on? So they're going to look and they're going to go, hey, we got to get a movie out there. So they're going to look at the best movies, and this is what took so long probably. They go, okay, here's the 3 movies that we're going to announce. Which ones realistically can we do? Which ones should make the money first? And what's the game plan going forward? So as the producer brain goes like this. All right. Now, why Lindelof left and why he took off, whatever the story was, whatever it might be, who knows? But what we do know is that Daisy Ridley's coming back. And now Daisy Ridley in Rey is coming back. Now, I think an argument that I understand, the question is, well, why would you, and I think even heard Campia talk about this, and he said, well, why would you lead with that movie when it was so divisive among fans? Well, the answer to that question is they all made $1 billion. Now, the follow-up to that is going to be like, yeah, but each one but each one did significantly less than the last. It still made $1 billion. So as where you and I can look at it and say, yeah, but there are some people who just didn't like it, and it could have made a lot more. You're absolutely right. It could have made a lot more had it been more creative, had they put more love to it, had the stories been better and people really loved it. It could have made so much more. It still made $1 billion. So in the grand scheme of things, when they look, it's like, yeah, that movie made less than, normally sequels that are really popular should make even more than the last. It still made $1 billion. That's the point. It made significantly more. Now, by taking that break, now the question is a fair question that someone would then say, all right, well, what if they would have put another Star Wars movie out in 2020? Would it have done $1 billion? Maybe not. Maybe not. In connecting it with the way that it was at that point, maybe not. But there has not been a Star Wars movie in a little bit. So whatever the movie might have been with Lindelof, and the idea of now going, okay, well, we're going to make a movie leading and announce Daisy Ridley, what to answer again a question of why would you do that if it was so divisive among fans is because the average non-hardcore Star Wars moviegoer fan will see Daisy Ridley, relate to it, and go, oh, they're doing another Rey movie. Okay. And they're going to try to get that casual fan that was part of that $1 billion club, and they're going to try to get those people back into the theater. And it is not going to relate to the next movie because there are some people, the hardcore fans, that are going to say, hey, I'm not going to see the movie. I didn't like the story that they were going to do. I don't care who's involved in it now. I don't want to see any more of that time period. But man, I want to see what Dave Filoni's going to do. I want to see what Filoni's going to do. And I want to see how it's going to. I like The Mandalorian. I want to see how it's going to connect. So in 2026, they're hoping for the people that don't go in 2025, they're going to go in 2026 because it's not related, and you might not get that drop off that you got normally for. I saw episode 7, didn't like it, don't want to see 8. Saw 8, didn't like it, don't want to see 9. You're hoping that it's not connected, that you're going, it's a different Star Wars movie. In the same way, you're like, well, you know what? I would much rather watch Black Panther 2 than I would Quantumania. That's where they're going with, which is not a bad strategy. So the Kathleen Kennedy producing brain is going, if I structure these things, put someone in there that everybody knows, and that all 3 of the movies that Daisy Ridley did were $1 billion movies. And if I do that, in the long run, Kathleen Kennedy does not care about canon. Kathleen Kennedy does not care about what's best for the Star Wars lore. She cares, and this is why she's a good producer. Whether you agree with it or not, I think a good producer as far as producing money. Creative head, different story. Producer, where they're like, we need money in the account. Well, her strategy is going to put Daisy Ridley in there, going to connect this story. And look, this movie could be great. Stephen Knight and shoot, Chabad. I always mess up the name. I'm sorry. But I love what she did in Ms. Marvel. So Chabad Chinoy, right? Chinoy, Abad Chinoy. Sorry, I think. I'm learning. I get better at it. As I screw it up about 7,275 times, and then I finally get it right. But that team could be fantastic, and that team could make the best Rey movie. It's very possible, and that could also help with the word of mouth of no, this one's really good. That could help. So the idea behind it of saying, okay, so with all those pieces together and these things that I'm doing here, Disney wants $1 billion in the account. That's what I'm going to do. Now, if people are going to go back and but the creative head shouldn't be doing that if they want to really help the overall Star Wars brand. I don't disagree. But if it's about trying to get your bosses happy and show that you are a producer winner with budget and box office, that's the strategy there. It's not to appease us. It's not. That's there are certain people in the producing, and not just like the Kevin Feige's. There are other who want to do both and that want to go, oh, I'm a big fan of this product, so I want something that I would love to see on screen. I just don't think that's her goals. And I think that if she's got the strategy of what she wants to do for these 3 movies, that's why it's different timeline, which I like the different timeline thing. And she even said in an interview, it doesn't hold us into connected storytelling of everything. We can do it if we want to, but it doesn't connect. I think that's a smart move. But yeah, I don't think it's a matter of fear of backlash. I think it's a matter of making the right movies that are going to put that cash in there. Because if it is a terrible movie, regardless of the Filoni movie coming out, if it's a terrible movie and it really gets another big backlash, as you say, it's still, whether you want to see, the Filoni movie or not, it's still, if it doesn't deliver and it bombs, then there's then a complete rehaul is just in the works. I just think a Star Wars movie at that point, it'll be what, 5 years? No, it'll be 6 years. 6 years. It'll be 6 years. since a Star Wars movie hit the theater. So 6 years of not seeing Star Wars in the theater, in December, the movie's going to make money. Now, whether it's good or not, I don't know, but the movie's going to make money. All right, before we move on to the next one, I'm going to tell you guys about both Athletic Greens and BetterHelp. Athletic Greens is the best. AG1, man. We are very excited to be talking about our next partner here. I take AG1 by Athletic Greens every day. I've been talking about them for months. It's coming up on years at this point. For me, I take it in the morning as the day's getting going. I put it in a water bottle. I shake it up. Done. It gives me good energy. I've been talking about it forever. Brett loves it. Katie Sackhoff loves it. Why? Because it just makes it simple. You just I'm not a big vitamins guy. I like one shot, done. For me, it helps energy, sleep quality, and I just never understood why would you take a bunch of different things. You can just take one scoop of powder in water once a day, and you're good. It's a good life hack. It's really great. That's why I love and I trust AG1 by Athletic Greens, and so many of you guys do too now, since hearing about it on this show. It gets delivered to you once a month. Very easy to make it a daily habit. I get the travel packs when I go on the road, when I'm doing the Comic-Cons and things. It's so easy. You just take care of your body each day, and it's that simple. So if you're looking for an easier way to take supplements, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/bigthing. athleticgreens.com/bigthing. Check it out. This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. You guys know how I have been talking about BetterHelp, how it has helped people on this show, how it has helped a lot of you. And now we can tell you more once again about BetterHelp, because getting to know yourself, it can be a lifelong process, especially because we're always growing and we're always changing. How I was, 2 years ago, significantly different to how I am today, because you're always learning. That's why you're saying to yourself later on, oh man, if I would have just done that back in the... Hindsight's 20/20. But if you can do things to help yourself, then why not do it? And therapy is all about deepening your self-awareness and understanding, because sometimes you don't always know what you want. And you don't always know why you react the way you do until you talk through things. And this is what I love about BetterHelp. It connects you with a licensed therapist who can take you on that journey of self-discovery from wherever you are. So I've talked about this. You guys know about this. Roxy reached out to BetterHelp. She's been thriving since she's been talking to BetterHelp. I talk to her about it all the time, and she loves it. She loves the therapist that they matched her with. And it's so amazing as a friend, as someone who cares about Roxy deeply, to see that. And I want you guys to have the same experience. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's online. It's convenient, it's flexible, and it's suited to your schedule. Discover your potential with BetterHelp. Go and visit BetterHelp.com/bigthing. And when you do, you get 10% off your first month. BetterHelp.com/bigthing. All right, thank you once again to our sponsors, BetterHelp and Athletic Greens. You help out the show, you help out yourself when you get our sponsors. So thank you. All right, let's move on. Thank you again to Tully on that one. The Nerd Cal. Can we get the Harloff Minor in the Filoni movie? Yeah, for everybody who always asks me that, first of all, I appreciate it. And for people who don't know, the great Claudia Gray put Harloff Minor Planet as canon in the Bloodline novel, and then followed it up in Leia. I think I screwed myself with the Galaxy's Edge thing on that one, guys. I think the second that nonsense happened, to which was my fault, obviously, but when that happened, I think rightfully so. I think Harloff Minor blew up somewhere in a non-canon book. So don't bet on it. I don't think it's going to happen. It blew up. It blows up skis. But whatever. Shit happens. Next one. Let's see. Paul Reaper. What are the chances we see Bo-Katan in the Ahsoka series? After watching Katie's latest interview and trying to read between the lines, it was interesting when she said that Bo knows where Ahsoka is. Why would she know, and how would she have found out? Well, they're in constant contact. I mean, of course she would know. I think that's obvious from if you watch Clone Wars and you watch Rebels, especially the end of Rebels, they're in constant communication, and she knew where she was in season 2. She knew where to find her. they're homies. So she would know where she was. I think Bo-Katan and Ahsoka are tight. So yeah, that's why that would make sense. Do I think she's going to show up in Ahsoka? She has told me nothing. And nor did I really ask, to be honest, off air, because I know she wouldn't tell me, and I don't want her to, because I don't want to get in trouble. So this is me speculating. I don't think so. And I would say I don't think so because I think it's taking place in the majority of the unknown regions. I don't think Din is going to show up. I think it's going to be the unknown regions. They're going to be out of sight. And I think Bo, at that point, from when this is set up, is going to be on Mandalore. What's she going to do? She'll leave Mandalore right away? She's on Mandalore. She's trying to set everything up. She's going to go on separate adventures through the unknown regions. So, again, hearing nothing, I could be 100% wrong. I just think that for what they have set up and all the stuff that they showed inside of that trailer, and they were filming it at the same time. They were filming a lot of it at the same time. A lot of it. Or they're setting up, and I guess they were filming recently. Well, I guess, I don't know. And here's another thing. So within that, they were filming over the last year. And I will say, from what I listened to in the interview that I gave, again, nothing that was told by me except inside the interview that I listened to. Katie at one point said, well, I haven't worked in a year. Now, that also could mean that they filmed her scenes, a year ago. So I don't know. But I would say no. I would say no, because I don't think it makes sense for Bo-Katan to be in this one. Now, Mandalorian Season 4, Ahsoka Season 2, the Mandalorian movie, yes, I think it's very possible, and I think that it should happen. If she's not in that movie, we riot. She's got to be in that movie. It'd be stupid not to put the Mandalorians, all of Mandalorian in the movie, and how do you not have Bo-Katan in the Mandalorian movie? It'd be stupid, but yeah. I think if they do Ahsoka Season 2. But no, for that one, I don't think so. But we'll see. Stefan Chandler. What's up, Stefan? How you doing? I'm curious. Will you play Jedi Survivor? And what do you think the chances are of Cal Kestis turning up in a live-action Star Wars project? Big fan of the channel. Keep up the great work. Well, I had actually heard something a little while ago. Now, how true it is, and maybe they were looking at what how they were going to do on the sales of this game, and I had heard that they were working on a series for him. I had heard that from the same source that gave me something else that turned out to be true. So I don't know if it's true or not, but they apparently there was talk about Cal getting his own live action show. Now I think they're going to look at how this game does, and they're going to probably see what the popularity of it is, and maybe they go from there. I don't know. What was the other side of that? Oh, will I play the actual game? Will I play the game itself? I will absolutely play the game. I was going to get it the other day, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to Vegas for the day, and I got to find some time to do it because we have the live show coming up on Friday, and I'd like to really kind of dive deep into it, because then I can come back next week and say, hey, listen, this is significantly better than the last one, because when I started falling off mountains, they told me why I shouldn't fall off mountains anymore and to go that way instead of continuously falling off mountains. So I haven't watched anybody's videos. I haven't seen how the gameplay is. I've just seen great things from certain like tweets. Like Jake Baldino, who I take his word when it comes to video games in general. I saw that he loved it. So I am definitely gonna play it. I was planning on playing it anyway. But yeah, I think Cal Kestis could. Why wouldn't you use that guy? He's a fantastic actor. So I do think he's going to show up. If not in his own series, I do think he's going to show up. Buckeye 725. Let's pretend for a second that the Dawn of the Jedi movie is absolutely happening. What are your expectations, desires for the film? Who would you cast to lead it? Do you get a household name, or do you fill the leaders with up-and-coming actors? Okay, so a lot of great questions. The first is, well, do I think it's going to happen? I think you have a better chance because of James Mangold, and apparently he's really kind of set on doing it, and he really wants to do it. So he doesn't seem like the type of person that, look, as I say that, a lot of these directors that fell out of the projects was because of creative differences and everything else too. But there's nothing really to connect to. But there can be any creative difference. So I don't know, but I do think it's going to happen. I don't know why. Call me a stupid optimist, but I do think it's going to happen. What do I hope to see out of it? I hope to get exactly what they pitched, and that's the biblical kind of spiritual discovery of the Jedi and the Sith and all of that stuff. And I don't need to see, and in no world do I think that this was it, like the formation of how the Force began. I think it's the discovery of people learning how to use the Force, which I think is fun. But the idea of like, this is how the midichlorians came about, and there's the first midichlorian. They're not going to do that. It's going to be like how this religion was formed and how that all started. That's fascinating to me because then it's also like the first taste of like, oh, this is great. This is what we know how to use these powers. It's amazing. Like everybody, we're going to use these for good. And then you get the person who's not going to use it for good and starts to crave the evil. And there's no Sith rule of two back then. So there could be a ton as they start to try to form their own army and it could start 25,000 years ago. Tons of stuff could happen. That's the type of stuff like expectations. You want to trust in what James Mangold is gonna give you and where he's coming from. But that's the kind of stuff the Game of Thrones set up to that era. But as far as the cast itself, I think there needs to be a mixture of both. But I think there needs to be names that are fantastic actors to what Mangold does really, really well. Putting actors in there that are known, but are known for their acting ability. They still might be really famous, but their acting ability. I think you do need a couple of names in there that are going to sell tickets because, yes, it's Star Wars, but you want names that are going to sell tickets because it's like, oh, they also have that person in there. But then putting tons of people in there who are just great actors and really develop, again, the characters and the story itself and not just go spectacle with it. So that's what I'm hoping for in that one. All right, next one. Level 1. Will John Boyega return to Star Wars considering what he has expressed about his experience? Well, look, time can heal all wounds, right? And so can money. And I think that how big of a role he's got in it, if he's got one at all, I don't think it'll be that big. But I also think that him and Daisy Ridley are really good friends. So if anybody's going to get him to come back, it's going to be Daisy Ridley, who's going, just take a meeting. They really want you in this. They want to do right by you this time. Unless she goes, don't do it. But I think as far as showing up, I think he shows up. I don't know how big of a role he's got, but I think he shows up. And I think that it doesn't look like he's as vocal about the tough times and the bad times. I think he got it out of his system, rightfully so. I think he was treated horribly. I think his character was handled terribly. The first movie was a good setup. The second movie handled him awfully. Last Jedi was, if you're going to dislike that movie at all, it should be what they did to Finn. It's terrible. He completely just went from being, one character with an arc to right back to where he was and even worse so, and then running around on a casino. Terrible. And then in the third one, he's got the Force. He's going to tell Rey about it? Well, he's going to tell her that he's got a secret he needs to talk to her about. Well, when does he tell her? He doesn't. He just goes back to stormtrooper roots and fights some other stormtroopers and then fights on a horse. Oh. And he screams a lot. Oh. Just not good. And he's a fantastic actor and a great dude. So I think he had every right to be pissed off and every right to vent. But I feel like he said, I got it out. Talk to who I got it out there. I tell people about my experience. So they want to talk, I'll talk. I always look at the old Vince McMahon stuff with like the Ultimate Warrior and a lot of different wrestlers that people always talked about this, and I always thought it was interesting, you know, as far as the business decisions and everything too. Like, there's tons of stuff that had happened in wrestling where just people going after Vince and talking about airing out public dirty laundry and all these things. You're like, oh, they're never going to work together, and just publicly just going after each other. And the business decision was the right business decision because it was going to bring in more money. So they figured out their differences, and they brought somebody, and they brought him back. So it's always in wrestling, they never say someone is not coming back. Contract's right, they'll come back. And I think it's the same thing here, where I think that Lucasfilm and Disney probably will make amends to Boyega at some point if they haven't already. And I think I don't know how big of a role, but I think he'll come back one way or another. Andrew. When is Rick Famuyiwa getting his own Star Wars project as a director? He nailed every episode of Mando that he directed. Would you like to see him have his own series or a movie? I think the answer is yes, sure, absolutely. I think he's great. But I think that there's a reason why they made him executive producer. I don't think it's a coincidence that Filoni was essentially moved over to do Ahsoka, and Rick Famuyiwa was essentially took over the Filoni responsibilities. And he did episode 1 and episode 7 and 8, I think. So I think he's going to be heavily involved with Favreau on 4. I think that's what he's going to be doing right now. Eventually, if he still wants to play in that universe, he might want to go back and do other things. He's a very talented director, so he might not want to stick around in the Star Wars world and just do Star Wars. So I think, yeah, absolutely, I'd love to see him do his own thing if he thinks the story's right. But I just don't think right now I think he's doing season 4. So I think he's going to be tied up in season 4, and then I see him doing other stuff and maybe get a movie, possibly get a movie. And it should be because he's awesome. But I don't think his own right now. I don't think it happens. I think it's he's too locked into season 4 of Mando. Hey, Mando. All right, here it is. This is the question. This is the one. Do you think that Luke? This is from Eddie Pavisic. Do you think that Luke, Han, and Leia will be involved in the Filoni movie? I wonder how much they'll make it like Heir to the Empire. Not sure how I'd feel about using de-aging for a movie, though. Why not de-aging in a movie? De-aging in a movie, if you look at, I think the best case of it ever to this day is the Michael Douglas Ant-Man one. Now we're talking deep fake, and you would have to do deep fake, obviously, for Carrie Fisher. I think it would be the better option because they did the de-aging in Rogue One, and I think it looked decent in Rise of Skywalker. But I think deep fake should be where they go with it. Now, I think that Luke is going to be a prominent character in that movie. I think he's going to be big, and they're going to market it on him because that's how you're going to have to get people into that theater to see that movie. You're going to get the Mandalorian people. Now, there's still a big audience for it. Lost a chunk. Was not as popular as seasons 1 and 2. Lost a chunk. Still a good enough audience that will go out and go see the movie, but enough to make it get to $600, $700, $800 million in the box office. How do you market that movie? You have to hope that people watched seasons 3 and season 4. Season 4. What if people didn't like 3 and they bailed on 4? Like, I don't know, I'm not caught up. How do you get them in the theater? How do you get people in the theater who's never watched the show before, but like Star Wars movies, never seen a single episode of The Mandalorian? How do you get them into the theater? With a guy who doesn't show his face, does Pedro Pascal have to start showing his face more, putting him out there? I think that's going to happen. I think that'll be probably part 1. Who's your star power to get him in there? Because right now, the majority of the people that you have in the show leading the movies, marketing on them, who do you got? You if you market on, I mean, you probably obviously Rosario Dawson, but still enough to get a big kind of pop culture buzz going around. Who bigger of a buzz to say Luke Skywalker's in this movie? And they're going to be using the deep fake technology to be used the same way that they did Luke Skywalker's in this movie. People will see the movie. especially people who were like, "Oh, I remember what they did in season 2. I didn't watch 3 and I didn't watch 4, but I want to see Luke, so maybe I should catch up because I want to see what's going on with Luke." You have to put him in to get people in the theater. So I think Luke is gonna be in it, and Mark Hamill can still be involved in it, as he was on both Boba Fett and season 2. Now, the trickier look what they've already done with Harrison Ford on Indiana Jones. Now, is he going to want to come back to do something inside of inside of the Mandoverse? Maybe not, but maybe so. Possible. The trickier situation, obviously, is Carrie Fisher, but you could also do. There's two things you can do here. You can do the deep fake, and you can also now do this freaking AI voice stuff is getting better and better every day. And even the emotions are starting to come out a little bit more of it. So I think that you can absolutely use all three of them. I don't know how big of characters they should be in the whole thing, and I don't know if you should mark it on the three of them, but I think you mark it on Luke. I think it's important. I think it's important to sell tickets. I really do. I think it's going to be crucial. I think that Luke will show up in Ahsoka, if not in season 2, for sure. If not in season 1, he'll be in season 2, because of that whole line of "Will I see you again?" and all that. I think Luke is if we know he's out there, what the hell is he doing? If we know Luke is out there at this point, they've set him out that he's out there. He just shows up for the kid and he doesn't do anything else. I don't see it happening. I see him doing a lot more. And I think that they should. Now, as far as Heir to the Empire goes, Filoni said that there's going to be a lot of, he's a Zahn fan, and I think there's going to be a lot of stuff that they do take. Mara Jade and all that. I don't know. But if Mara Jade's in it, then Luke's got to be in it. And Luke and Thrawn, and to see them kind of battle it out, I would put a heavy bet on Luke being in it. Luke being in having a major role. I think it's important. I think it's really important. Now, is it going to play it all on Skeleton Crew? Same thing. It's like, how are they going to market that show? And how are they going to tie it all in? I was very surprised that in the season finale of Mando that they didn't kind of tie into Skeleton Crew to give them a boost of this is what you should be watching next, the way that they did in season 2 leading into Boba Fett. It's like, this is what you should be watching next. Boba Fett. Get ready for it, whether you liked it or not. It's like you were hyped for it when it started because of the way that they ended Mandalorian. Nothing for Skeleton Crew. Surprised that they didn't do that to help hype the next thing. But yeah, as far as I think Luke showing up could be a definite. All right, next one. Mike Rivera 6349. Hey Kristian, after some fan complaints of Bo-Katan stealing the spotlight from Mando in season 3, would you prefer or want Bo-Katan to have her own spin-off series like Boba did? Thanks. As far as complaints go, it's like, come on, man. It's called The Mandalorian. Never told you exactly who the Mandalorian was. It's about Mandalorian, all that type of stuff. I think that my biggest concern was that it wasn't just developed enough from a lot of these different things, and there were certain things that were a bit rushed, and the faster thing that they talk about is I think is silly. Faster, more intense. That doesn't always work. And I think that's more so what was my issue with it. I think Katie was the strongest one in the entire season, because she's such a really good actress. She puts everything she has into it. But that being said, of course, I'd love to see her get her own show. I think that would be interesting to see all the stuff on and just call it Mandalore or Lady Kreese or whatever. It might be. I'd love to see one full season of Katie doing Bo-Katan stuff with the armor, her and Emily Swallow, while Din and Grogu are off on Mandalorian season 4 doing whatever they're doing. But I don't see it in the cards because I think it would connect to the Mandoverse and they'd have to do everything, now. And I think it's going to all connect. I think they already have a plan. Remember, Filoni's movie looks like it's going to come out in 2026 is what people are rumoring. And if that's the case, you got to set up Mandalorian season 4. You got to set up Ahsoka season 2. You got to set up Skeleton Crew. And then you got to get the movie done. There's no time in between to get a Bo-Katan series going now. Plus, where does it all lie into the lore. So I just don't see it happening. But maybe it does. It'd be great. I would love that, but I don't know. All right. I think that's it. So I want to thank you guys for joining me here today on the show. It was fun. I always love your questions. Your questions are amazing. And they were really good ones today, too. What do you guys think of anything that I talked about here on the show today? What do you agree with? What don't you agree with? Did you get a chance to see the Katie interview yet? What did you think of it? Remember, if you haven't watched it yet, go over there because there's a new giveaway. We're giving away a signed copy of Season 1 of Battlestar Galactica by Katie. We're giving away an Oculus, signed DVD by Katie, and a signed Blu-ray of Riddick. So they're all signed by Katie. She signed them when she was here. So all you got to do is comment. And the best comment, the most thoughtful comment, funny comment will be picked. So once it hits 2,000, I'll go back in there. 2,000 comments. I'll go back in there and read them all out. All right, guys. Thank you once again. Make sure you're headed. Please, if you're anywhere in the California area, if you missed this show, if you're becoming a fan, if you just found us and you're in the California area, like, all right, you know what? I just subscribed to these morons a little while ago. Do I want to go see them live? Yes, you do. You want to see us live. We're going to be doing stand-up for the first hour and then a show at the second half. We're all going to be there. Me, Kate, Brett, Steph, Mike, Roxy, Winston, Coy. We're all going to be there. And we hope that you guys will be there too. TheChristianHarloff.com. Get your tickets. And if you can't be there live, watch it on the live stream. Please be there if you can be there. I'd love to see everybody out there. We want to get a big crowd going. We want it to be rowdy. We want to hear screaming and yelling and laughing, and we want to have a good time. So let's do it. Head on over to Spotify, man. We're on video over at Spotify. If you haven't already done it, hit that button. Show a little class. Get us to 100,000 subscribers. Please and thank you. You guys rule, man. I appreciate you, and we'll see you on the flip side. Big things, Sith Council. See you next time.